And there's new reporting on a phone call between the president and the founder of Amazon, Jeff Bezos. Sources telling CNN that the president at one point wasn't happy earlier today about a report he saw regarding the online retail giant. Amazon then clarifying their plans. Let's get the latest from Elena Treen, who's at the White House for us. And Elena, you got the scoop about this Trump-Bezos call. It all has to do with a certain section of that website potentially showing shoppers how much Trump tariffs might cost them, right?
That's exactly right. So essentially, I'll just give you the breakdown of how this played out as, it is according to the senior White House officials I spoke with on this. Essentially, there was a story published this morning by Punchbowl News that said Amazon was considering to show the cost of tariffs on Amazon's website next to its prices to show the breakdown of how much more the tariffs were making these products cost. That was something that then one senior White House official who I spoke with called President Trump about directly to inform him of it. Now, this is what one of those officials told me the response was. They said, quote, "Of course he was pissed. Why should a multi-billion-dollar company pass off costs to consumers?" Then we learned, this is according to two senior White House officials I spoke with, that the president was so angered by this, he called up the founder of Amazon himself, Jeff Bezos, to complain about the potential plans that were being reported on. We also heard White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt say publicly that they believed that the move was a hostile political act. All to say, after all of that, the White House making very clear their position, both publicly and privately, Amazon then seemed to backtrack. They had one statement come out from an Amazon spokesperson that essentially said, quote, "It was never a consideration for the Man Amazon site, and nothing had been implemented on Amazon properties." They said it was only going to be for certain products on its website. But then when I reached out to Amazon, they sent me a different statement saying it was their latest version of it. And essentially it added and made clear that it was never approved and not going to happen. So I think it's just a pretty remarkable story, really, of how this all played out. And really, I think the bottom line here is it shows that this White House did not want the tariff prices and the cost of these tariffs being shown. They were also, really taking issue with the fact that some of the costs of the tariffs could be passed on from Amazon to consumers.
Recent changes in U.S. customs regulations have introduced a major shift in how international e-commerce operates, particularly for packages shipped from the European Union to the United States. The revision of the de minimis exemption, which previously allowed lower-value imports to bypass customs, duties, and taxes, has led to the implementation of stricter rules. Now, every international package must be declared individually, with accurate data provided on origin, value, and classification. This development has caused a ripple effect across the entire logistics chain. European postal authorities and carriers are responding with caution. Some have temporarily slowed or even paused shipments to the U.S. due to the uncertainty surrounding the new requirements and the added complexity involved in customs processing. The impact on international sellers, especially small and medium-sized businesses that ship directly to U.S. consumers, is immediate and profound. The model that once relied on low-cost, low-friction shipping now faces increased costs, delays, and operational adjustments. For Amazon sellers, the consequences of this regulatory change vary depending on their fulfillment model. Those using Fulfillment by Amazon, FBA, who store inventory within the United States, are better positioned to adapt. They typically import goods in bulk, allowing them to handle customs duties in a consolidated way and spread the cost across larger shipments. This enables them to maintain relatively stable pricing, even with the new tariffs in place. However, sellers who use the Merchant Fulfilled Network, MFN, model and ship individual orders from overseas are at a disadvantage. Each shipment is now subject to its own set of taxes and customs duties, which raises the cost per unit significantly. This not only affects profit margins, but also directly influences consumer prices. For many sellers, maintaining their current pricing structure without sacrificing profitability will be increasingly difficult. This scenario is forcing many businesses to reconsider their international shipping strategies or even explore local warehousing solutions. From the perspective of American consumers, the result of these changes will be felt in multiple ways. Product prices are expected to rise, especially for goods that were previously attractive due to their low cost and international origin. Shipping times may also become less reliable, and in some cases, inventory availability will decrease. Product categories such as clothing, accessories, hobby items, and niche home goods, which have traditionally benefited from direct-to-consumer international shipping, are likely to experience the most visible changes in pricing and delivery speed. On the other hand, categories such as electronics, which have long required formal import declarations and have faced tighter controls, may not be as heavily affected. Nonetheless, for consumers accustomed to consistent low pricing and fast delivery from global sellers, this transition will feel like a noticeable disruption to their online shopping habits. Amazon, as a central player in global e-commerce, is taking steps to navigate this evolving situation. The platform is expected to place even more emphasis on its FBA model, as this allows for more predictable customs handling and shipping workflows. By encouraging sellers to store inventory in the U.S., Amazon can streamline fulfillment processes and ensure that product listings remain eligible for fast delivery services like Prime. However, FBA comes with its own trade-offs, including storage fees, longer lead times for restocking inventory, and the upfront cost of bulk importing goods. For small sellers operating on thin margins, these challenges may be difficult to overcome. As a result, the marketplace may see a shift in seller demographics, favoring larger or more financially resilient businesses that can manage the added complexity and cost of compliance. Another issue that is coming into sharper focus is the process for returns. International returns have always been more complicated than domestic ones, but under the new customs environment, they become even more cumbersome. Sellers must now manage refund procedures for customs duties and taxes on returned goods, adding administrative overhead to what is already a costly process. For Amazon, known for its no questions asked return policy, this presents a challenge. Maintaining a frictionless return experience for customers while managing increased back-end costs could require policy changes. These might include narrower return windows, the introduction of restocking fees, or clearer limitations on international purchases. Such changes, while necessary for operational sustainability, could affect customer satisfaction and alter perceptions of Amazon's service quality.
And Elena, on the auto tariffs and the president's event tonight, what should we expect?
Yeah, look, this is something that we heard confirmed this morning from Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent. Essentially, the president is going to be signing a new executive order today. We're told he'll sign it on board Air Force One as he travels to Michigan for his rally to mark his first 100 days in office. And essentially, the order is going to ease some of the tariffs on automakers. Now, I was told in my conversations with White House officials that this came after the president had spoken on multiple occasions with different CEOs of the major automaker companies. And this is something as well we heard Scott Bessent said that they want to try and help these automakers. They want to encourage them and motivate them to bring manufacturing to the United States. And in order to do that, they might have to soften the impact of some of the tariffs that we're seeing the president roll out. Now, this executive order, some Commerce Department officials walked through some of the details with reporters. It's very wonky, but I want to give you kind of the 50,000-foot view, Boris. Essentially, the 25% tariff on imported cars still remains, and that's going to continue remain. There's also going to be a new tariff going into effect this week, and another 25% tariff on parts, auto parts coming into the United States. However, this new order will give the ability for some of these automakers to get reimbursed for some of the 25% tariffs, but then also they really are looking at trying to prevent domestic-made cars in the United States from being tariffed in the same rate that auto cars would be tariffed, as well as the foreign parts of different tariffs, even in domestically produced cars. All that to say, it's very complex, but it's clear what they're trying to do here. They're trying to ease the impact that some of these automakers are feeling, and really their bottom line goal is to encourage manufacturing in the United States. That's the bottom line with what they're trying to do here, and you are seeing the stock market respond kind of favorably to the news of this, Boris.
Elena Trine live for us at a noisy White House. Sounds like a plane overhead. Elena, thank you so much.
This Amazon White House spat over what Amazon is now saying was just this kind of idea that was being discussed to list tariff upcharges on some Amazon haul products. What do you think just about the idea of this, about letting consumers know what a tariff policy is costing them.
At the policy level, these new regulations reflect a broader effort by the U.S. government to tighten control over international imports. Customs and Border Protection, CBP, is now demanding more complete data on shipments, including origin information, product classifications through HS codes, and verified declared values. This means platforms like Amazon must update their systems to require this information from sellers, adding more compliance checks and verification steps. In turn, sellers must adapt to using more detailed shipping labels and accurate declarations. Incorrect or incomplete documentation could lead to delays, fines, or even account suspensions on the platform. For Amazon to remain compliant while also supporting its sellers, it may need to invest further in tools that assist with customs documentation and tax calculation, providing more transparency to both sellers and buyers in the process. The logistics infrastructure within the United States will also feel the effects of these changes, as more shipments are diverted from postal networks to freight or courier channels to meet customs requirements. U.S. ports and air cargo terminals may experience increased congestion. The postal system once allowed for a high-volume, low-touch flow of packages, but now each package must go through more detailed scrutiny. This slows down processing times and puts pressure on customs agents and logistics providers alike. Amazon and other high-volume platforms will likely respond by scaling up their own distribution capabilities, including expanding sortation centers and inland transportation networks. While such investments may improve efficiency, they will inevitably increase operational costs that could eventually trickle down to consumers in the form of higher prices. From a strategic standpoint, Amazon may also begin encouraging sellers to explore alternative sourcing options closer to the U.S. market. This includes leveraging suppliers in Mexico or Canada, which, while not completely exempt from tariffs, can reduce shipping times and port congestion. Businesses might also consider establishing regional hubs within the EU and using third-party logistics providers to consolidate shipments before sending them to Amazon's U.S. fulfillment centers. In some cases, Amazon might offer incentives such as temporary reductions in storage fees or discounted inbound shipping rates to ease the transition for sellers. These steps could shorten the gap between product importation and availability for sale, improving cash flow and reducing pricing uncertainty. Consumers may also begin to notice changes in how gifts are handled. In an effort to prevent abuse of tax exemptions, some postal authorities have tightened rules around packages marked as gifts. The Mark as Gift option on many platforms, including Amazon, may no longer carry any weight when it comes to customs processing. This can create confusion for buyers, particularly around holidays, when international gift giving is common. Amazon may need to communicate more clearly with its customers about what gift shipments actually entail under the new rules and manage expectations around delivery times and possible customs fees. Looking ahead, this new landscape will likely accelerate Amazon's investment in domestic infrastructure. The company may expand micro-fulfillment centers and optimize regional delivery networks within the U.S. to ensure fast shipping and product availability despite international delays. Such changes could also contribute positively to the U.S. economy by promoting local job creation and encouraging nearshoring of manufacturing. However, the downside is a potential decline in the number of new international brands entering the U.S. market. Many small European businesses have used Amazon as a gateway to test their products with American consumers at a relatively low cost. With higher entry barriers and increased compliance obligations, the pace at which these brands launch in the U.S. could slow, reducing variety for consumers and challenging Amazon's position as a truly global marketplace. In conclusion, the rollback of the de minimis exemption and the introduction of stricter customs protocols are fundamentally changing the economics of cross-border e-commerce. Amazon, as a platform, is being called upon to adapt quickly, balancing regulatory compliance, seller support, and customer satisfaction in a far more complex operating environment. For businesses, the priority now is to plan early, build compliant supply chains, and explore new ways to remain competitive. For consumers, the immediate future will likely bring price adjustments, potential shipping delays, and changes in product availability. Over time, These shifts could lead to a more localized retail landscape, with increased reliance on domestic fulfillment and less dependence on low-cost imports. Whether this will benefit or harm the average consumer remains to be seen.